Hello there. Today, what I want to talk about is automatic pilot behaviors. Eventually, this channel is going to be kind of let's look to the future and see what we can create. But for now, I've been sorting through a lot of things that have frustrated me, things that I don't like. Uh, some people call this shadow work. It's kind of just the phase I happen to be in. So, automatic pilot behaviors I find very intrusive towards progress and interactivity between people. I guess I'll list some automatic pilot behaviors that have frustrated me. I recall many instances in which I might tell my friends or family that I really didn't want to talk about politics or sort of the noise of the world, and I'd rather focus on our dreams. Uh, it's pretty dumbfounding to me how much I would say this and people would just go right back into politics, right back into sort of the trends of the news, or when everyone is talking about the exact same thing over and over again, or sort of rumors or gossip or tabloids, celebrities. I just really deter away from those kind of conversations unless you have something new to bring to the table or you plan on actually doing something about it. If we're just relaying information that's already been expressed and we're calling ourselves more aware, more conscious, or up to date, I think it's just not as important as you putting out your dreams into the world or creating a world around you that represents your individuality, your soul. And I understand the need for awareness and not being ignorant and being aware of other people's problems that might be more severe than us. When I was in school, I graduated in 2000, and they actually had a government class that had us read 1984, which, tells you all about not being ignorant and being aware that, possibly the government you're under is not trustworthy. And it's all about not being ignorant of your surroundings and of your fellow man. However, as I've grown older, there's been sort of an awareness that if I embody the world I want to create, it's like a different kind of news. Also, I've had some spiritual experiences that, whether you believe them or not, for a long time I was not a person who thought channeling other spirits was possible or have a psychic phenomenon, when there's actually a Time Life magazine, a friend of mine who we used to hang out with made me aware of. It's Time Life magazine about psychic powers and how throughout history there is actual documented evidence of such. So some of my psychic experiences in the past, they haven't been as prevalent lately. They made me aware that that is a different kind of news. It doesn't have propaganda with it. If you tune into spirit or source or other energies out there that more represent your true character or your deepest character. I don't really like to say the higher self because that denotes like a lower version of yourself. You're kind of like demeaning a aspect of your personality. I'm not into hierarchy. I've said this in other videos. But anyway, one of the emphasis is if you zero in on a world that you're trying to create, something I've been really trying to do, but I haven't been successful, and I've been doing more soul searching and like shadow work, they call shadow work. Although I think shadow work is kind of not, it might actually have a bad connotation, an unbalanced connotation. Another subject. The world you want to bring that actually is like a paradise or something beyond utopia, for us to zero in on it, we need to ignore this noise, this propaganda, this doom prophecies, And I was really trying to focus on that, and at the time my friends and family just wouldn't leave me alone. So I had to detach myself from such people in order for me to focus on that. Ironically, what ended up happening was that I had to like do more soul work, what they call shadow integration, so shadow work, and that's what I've been working on for the last year. And so thought I'd just share with you more automatic pilot behaviors I've noticed. I don't like to use trend words like normalize this or toxic this. Narcissism used excessively, even though there is a reality of the world becoming more narcissistic. Anytime you're using language that everyone else is using and it doesn't actually reflect your soul character, your individuality. What are other automatic pilot behaviors? Okay, so I've mentioned it in other videos, but advice. The idea that we are sort of like, a lot of people are trying to kind of put this energy out there that they're higher than other people. And this has been programmed into our way of interpreting society through academia, government. I don't believe that the creator, and if there is any sort of heaven out there, that they view life on earth as if it is higher and lower than each other. They just see it as different, and they have a certain role or purpose, raison d'etre, and we do better to focus on the purposes and the harmony of how this spiritual body existence, how it works and behaves in a balanced way, in a deeper way, rather than a higher or better than way. So it's amazing to me how many times I would tell someone, I don't want advice, I just want you to hear me. And then they would say, yes, okay, I heard you say that. And then they go straight into giving me advice. And the problem I don't like about unsolicited advice is it basically sends a message out to people that you don't really know what you're doing. I know what to do better, and I'm sort of on another level than you, rather than hearing you as a fellow human. And we kind of have that written into academia, and the idea that knowledge and intellectualism is something you need to prove and criticize and validation. I do believe in critical thought, but not in an invalidation sort of way. It is also just one form of thought. There are multiple versions. I tend to see the world in a spectrum of being rather than a tug of war of knowledge of who is right and who is wrong. And I also approach intellectualism that way, whereas most intellectual discussions are in some sort of debate when there's not even a judge, because if you were actually in an intellectual debate class in school, there would be a judge, and people are finding themselves fighting over opinions without that judge, where there is no prize and no one is really trying to further the expansion of consciousness. I've noticed that intellectuals, in my opinion, an intellectual would really want to help their opposer of their ideas, because if they really wanted to find truth, they would want to be scrutinized as much as possible, but it wouldn't really be over winning or losing, or an egoic demonstration that if your opinions can be attacked and shut down, then like if you can do that more so to someone else, you're somehow superior to them. And that's just an illusion that a lot of people have been taught to create. And that isn't even their idea. That's automatic pilot behavior as well. And I liken that whole scenario to like MCs and lawyers battling with each other, like an MC battle, hip-hop battle. And it really is all about winning, not about finding truth, or finding, expanding consciousness. And when you default automatically to, I am an intellectual, I am more superior than you, I'm going to show you things about yourself that you don't know, it's just turning off the ears and putting on the mouth. And I've run into it all the time. So I tend to I'm not avoiding the world, I'm not hiding from it, but when I see so much automatic pilot behavior, I just don't want to have anything to do with it. Because what I find lacking in this world is a recognition of each other, a recognition of authenticity, both in ourselves and each other. And I think a lot of us are actually really afraid to look at our souls and see that we are not an expert of everything, even though we get advantageous rewards for seeming like an expert, for seeming professional, because our livelihood could be in jeopardy if someone is more of an expert or more of a professional than us, and we are in the competitive market of money, this world. So that's okay. Is there any other automatic pilot behaviors? So like even in the dating scene, right? I don't even believe in the concept of dating, because I have found with myself, whenever I go dating, I find myself doing things in automatic pilot behavior, sort of putting expectations on others and then allowing others to put expectations on me. Like, I don't believe that I should be the breadwinner in a family. I don't believe in nuclear family. Whenever I explore even the institution of marriage, typically what happens there is we are entering into a framework where there's a contract and expectations that the family and society place upon me. It's not that I'm not a committed individual. It's just that I think that a relationship should be tailor-made for two individuals, and for people to really base the framework of their relationship based on the individualities converging. And I think that if a person is honest, if two people are honest together and as individuals about that, it's always going to be different than a sort of a traditionalism mindset, a typical framework. The true souls, the individualities, authenticity, such beings cannot be within a typical framework. The framework must be built around them, their purposes, their desires, their needs, their goals. And if these things aren't talked about and emphasized, if you're creating a structure first before talking about these things and asking each other honestly what is realistic, it's never going to reflect the character of the relationship. It won't be anything new. It won't be lively. It'll have a stagnation spell on it. And it's actually kind of disconcerting and disturbing how much automatic pilot behavior we have out there. We have it even within the framework of our families raising us. I've noticed that parents tend to raise people based on what they want to teach them rather than finding out the uniqueness that is their children. And that's not entirely parents' fault. I think that the working world and academia, this sort of pressure to make money or you die or you run out of money and you won't be able to make the payments on your house, and now housing costs have gone up so much, and corporatism has taken advantage of us, and we've allowed it to take advantage of us. It has made parents into that. It has shaped them into they're trying to survive every day with not being flooded by bills and a society that doesn't really care about their individuality, unfortunately, generally speaking, you know. So yeah, we have a lot of problems in the world. I do think that there is a hope ahead. I think that when 2020 occurred, we have a lot of people who realized they didn't want to work for anyone else anymore. They wanted to kind of find a way to let their soul make a world based on their individuality. So I do think that there's hope, but And that's why I'm pinpointing a lot of these automatic pilot behaviors that frustrate me. I see them all the time. Even with conscious beings, people who are interested in spirituality or the conspiracies of the world that are actually true with backed up proof and evidences, empirical evidence. I've even found with them sort of this automatic pilot behavior with sort of the war on humanity, the war against art. I don't like to see the world from only the perspective of war, because then I am in this tug of war energy again, just like I was saying with MCs and lawyers having a rap battle over intellectuality. It's not a spectrum of being. Most works of arts have this they allude to this sort of spectrum of being, which there's so many multiple possibilities of existence that all exist simultaneously, and they don't need to fight against each other. There's no paradox in them existing with each other. They just can exist in a sort of harmony, or kind of be more prominent when you decide to examine it as a thematic element, a synchronicity of your life. So yeah, a lot of this is me kind of dismantling a lot of the obstacles we need to get over so that we can embody the spectrum of being, looking into a world with an artistic lens, with a multifaceted way of being, because a lot of if we don't look at the elements that are actually harming that, we won't be able to put up proper boundaries from it. If we can't identify it, we're not going to be able to be in the rich space all the time, more often than not, right? So that'll be enough for now. That was a long enough video. I may do another one if I think of other things that frustrate me that I haven't talked about here or expand upon further, what I've already mentioned here. Let me know what you think when you hear all this. If there's something that doesn't make sense to you that I've said, just try not to be assumptive about my thoughts here, because that's another automatic pilot behavior. We tend to hear words a certain way, and we have certain experiences that are associated with those words. So we often make assumptions about someone's disposition, often assuming that their concept of reality is more typical than it is, because we kind of have typical associations with certain experiences and certain words. It's another version of automatic pilot behavior. But yeah, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and because I want that as well, and try to please do so with me, and I will do it with you. And let's see where we have sort of common ground, Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and you see the world with new eyes, like a fresh perspective, like as a child or an artist, because that's the goal, rather than kind of labeling typical write-off language or typical boxes on other people. Yeah. Well, have a lovely day or evening, and take care.